Welcome. Senate File 39 is a bill that deals with wage theft. It's one of Iowa's biggest crimes. Each year, Iowa workers are estimated to lose $600 million to wage theft. Wage theft is when Iowans aren't paid for the work that they've done. So what is wage theft? Non-payment of wages for all the hours that people work. Underpaid wages. Workers that are legally owed a minimum wage or overtime that aren't paid as such. Tipped employees that are paid less than the legal mandate or that management takes a percentage or all of their tips. Shorting checks by making unauthorized or illegal deductions. Falsely labeling employees as independent contractors in order to avoid a host of other employment laws. In some industries, stealing from paychecks of low-wage workers has become a business model. I want to thank our guests who are here today, came to the State House to share their experience of what wage theft happened to them. So our first two speakers are Katie Wilson and Justin Banks. Katie.
My name is Katie Wilson. I'm a member of the Center for Worker Justice in Iowa City, and I'm here to talk about wage theft. I recently graduated from the University of Iowa, and I'm originally from Ames, but I moved to the Iowa City area 6 years ago, and that's when I began working at Applebee's in Coralville. Waiting tables takes skill. To be really good at it, I had to learn to multitask, had to be organized, and had to work as part of a team. There's a misconception when it comes to restaurant jobs that they are temporary, done by high schoolers and college students, but many people make this their career. For about 4 of those 6 years at Applebee's, it was the only thing I did, which is why I was devastated when I found out management was illegally taking my tips. I was required to pay into a tip pool that was supposed to be shared with my coworkers. As it turns out, management was keeping my tips, even though federal law prohibits them from doing so under any circumstances. I was furious and hurt. I called my mother in tears because I had trusted these people. Like so many workers in my shoes, I stayed at my job for years because I was loyal to my employers and I needed the money. I needed all of those extra dollars they took from me. It's hard enough making only $4.35 an hour. Servers depend on the generosity of others, our employers to give us good shifts and our customers to give us good tips. And on top of it all, Applebee's was taking my hard-earned money. This didn't just happen to me. It happened to all of my coworkers. Wage theft is an epidemic in the restaurant industry, and it is a crime. So far, my coworkers and I have tried to get Applebee's to sit down with us to discuss changing their practices and pay back our wages, but they've refused to do so. We requested an investigation from the Federal Department of Labor, but that's not enough. We need to strengthen our wage theft laws to put stronger penalties on businesses who steal from their workers. We need to protect workers. This is not a partisan issue. This is a human issue because everyone deserves to be paid the wages they earn. Thank you.
My name is Justin Banks, and I work with my colleague Katie Wilson at Applebee's for 2 years. Applebee's illegally took my hard-earned wages too. And what I like to do is paint a picture of what I experienced at Applebee's. Let's first start with scenario 1. This is what happens when I steal. Say I'm an employee at a bar, myself and my other bartenders have our own tip jars. I take a small percentage of those tips for myself, and I also take it upon myself to maybe take a few bucks out of the register when no one's looking. When caught, what can I expect? First, I'd be fired. I'd have to pay the money back, charged with a criminal offense and or fine, because taking what is not yours is against the law. Let's flip the script to scenario 2. This is what happens when an employer steals from an employee in Iowa. Say I'm a general manager now. At the same bar, I pocket a portion of the tips that were intended for the busters, who earn them and occasionally shorten paychecks purposely. Eventually someone notices. What can I expect to happen? Not much, possibly a civil suit, if the worker is educated enough on the laws and can afford a lawyer. But the most likely outcome, nothing. What we have here is one meal at the same table that tastes different depending on what side you're sitting on. This is why $600 million in reported wages are taken from workers last year. Myself, former co-workers are part of those unreported numbers. Here in Iowa, wage theft is the #1 crime because it's virtually no consequence to the employers who steal from the workers. It's just like what happened to me. What we need is change. We need change through bipartisan legislation. The conversation is being had now. Let's progress toward effective action. The left and the right need to meet center because this affects all your constituents. Wage theft is not a racial or gender issue. Wage theft is an Iowa issue. Thank you.
In 2012, Valentin Ruiz of Conesville, Iowa, did $1,200 worth of welding work for a company in West Liberty. I'll let him tell you his story.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Valentin Ruiz, and I'm originally from Mexico. I've been living in Iowa for 23 years, living and working, so I'm becoming a resident permanent since '93. Today, I want to ask Misty to help me to translate. Aproximadamente como 3 años trabajé como soldador en una compañía llamada CWM en West Liberty.
About 3 years ago, I worked as a welder at a company called CWM Welding in West Liberty.
Su dueño, Dick Klassen, fue una persona que no manejaba bien su negocio y rápidamente aprendí que hay muchos dueños como él.
The owner, Dick Klassen, was not very good at running his business, but I soon learned that there's a lot of people like him.
Trabajé por unos cuantos meses y pronto los problemas empezaron a aparecer, problemas de pago.
I was only working there for a few months, but very soon problems with pay started.
Cuando me despidió, él me debía aproximadamente $1,200.
When he fired me, he owed me about $1,200 in unpaid wages.
Entonces recurrí al departamento de trabajo y llamé a los formularios para hacer una investigación en contra de él.
So I went to the Iowa Workforce Development, I filled out the paperwork, and I asked for an investigation.
Me di cuenta que ya había varias personas con la misma situación mía.
I realized that there was many people in the same situation as me.
Las buenas noticias llegaron, gané el caso porque Dick nunca se presentó a corte.
So good news arrived. I had won the case because Dick Klassen did not arrive to court.
Pero ahora, después de 3 años, sigo luchando porque no he recibido mi pago aún.
But here I am 3 years later still fighting because I still have not received my wages.
El departamento de trabajo me dijo que ya no podían hacer nada a favor mío.
The Iowa Workforce Development told me that they couldn't do anything for me.
So recurrí una vez más al Centro de Justicia Laboral para que me ayuden a conseguir un abogado.
So I found the Center for Worker Justice and they helped me get a lawyer.
Pero aproximadamente 2 semanas atrás me dijeron que mi caso estaba cerrado y que no podía hacer absolutamente nada por mí.
But just 2 weeks ago we got news that my case was going to close because there was nothing they could do.
El robo de mi pago me ha costado 2 años de mi tiempo libre y casi $2,000.
This wage theft has cost me 2 years of my free time and almost $2,000.
Es tiempo para hacer que nuestras leyes sean más fuertes en consecuencia para todos los empleadores como Dick Klassen.
It is time that we strengthen our laws so that there are more consequences for owners like Dick Klassen.
Y por último quiero agregar, si esto no es un robo, entonces ¿a qué le llamamos robo?
And lastly, I'd like to say, if this is not theft, then what is theft?
Un ejemplo que quiero poner, si yo me meto en una tienda o una propiedad privada y tomo algo que no es mío,
I would like to give an example. If I go into a store and I take something that is not mine,
claro que hay cargos criminales en contra mía.
of course there's going to be criminal charges against me.
Esto está considerado como robo.
This is considered theft.
Entonces mi pregunta es, si esto no es robo, entonces ¿qué es robo?
So if this is not theft, then what is theft?
Este es el año que nuestros legisladores deben apoyar a los trabajadores en la lucha por un pago justo.
This is the year that our legislators need to support workers in the fight for a fair wage.
Thank you.
And our last guest, and I want you to hear his story, is Juan Tristan.
Hi, my name is Juan Tristan, and I've been living here in Limon for 20 years. And I was in the drywall business. I was working under my dad for 10 years, so we decided to open our own company. And a lot of people started believing in me, and I had a lot of workers, like 30 workers. We started getting big projects, and everything was going fine. So we got a project on Watermark Apartments in Jordan Creek, and we started working for them, and everything was going good. We find out that a lot of people were getting not paid, and everybody was leaving the business. and we see like different companies come in and come out, and we still kept working there because they were doing paying us good and everything. And like on the last buildings, we started having problems not getting paid, and I wasn't paying my guys. I had like 30 guys, and they still believe in us. They kept working and keep working without pay for a month and a half, and they told us as soon as you finish the job, you get the full payment. And I myself work with the workers. I just don't supervise. I work myself and spray and do everything that I'm supposed to do. And we kept working, and when we finished everything and we went and asked for the paycheck, they said that we don't have nothing coming. And everybody, I mean, we started losing people and everything because we cannot pay anymore. And we're just trying to get help to get our money back, at least to pay the workers. We're not asking for our money, just to pay our workers so we continue on business. And we already contacted like lawyers, and we tried to a lot of places that they can help us, and we don't got the money to get a lawyer, so I mean, that's the only place that we can go with these people is helping us right now. And I mean, it's just a bad thing that they're doing in this state and coming from other states and take our money and don't pay us. And that's what we're asking for help, to at least if it's not gonna help us, at least for help all the people to don't get robbed from other people, the big corporations. Because they got a lot of lawyers and we don't know not much about the law. And I mean, we just want to work and get paid, and that's it. And I appreciate it. They do something to help us. Thank you.
I'd like to now introduce Senator Doxler, who has been fighting along with Senator Bolton for a very long time to pass this wage theft bill. And Senator Doxler, you might want to give a few points on the bill.
Thank you, Senator Biziano, and I want to thank those that came before us today and had the courage to stand up and speak about wage theft here in Iowa. You know, we've had these meetings before, subcommittee meetings, and there is an endless line of individuals who have similar stories about wage theft. You know, being paid for your work is a core Iowa value. Cheating people out who work hard, cheating people of the pay for that work is not. And it's been suggested that we simply, as legislators, hire more wage theft investigators. We've tried that, and we've done that, and we'll continue to try to do that, but we need to do more to solve this problem than to just add investigators. We need a smarter, better, more efficient approach that solves the problem before it really starts. Here's what I believe we should do, and here's what the bill before us in the Labor Committee would do. It requires businesses to keep a written record of the terms of employment when you hire someone. Something that any personnel manager in any reputable company would do. Tell people how you're going to pay them and put it in writing. That's simply a good business practice, and it makes common sense. I think that we're actually encouraging bad actors to steal from Iowans by failing to require this basic paperwork. 2, we need to eliminate the "I didn't mean to do it" defense that has worked so long for these corporate crooks. Saying that, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do it." Under current law, wage theft is when an employer has intentionally, and I'm going to say that again, intentionally failed to pay an employee wages or reimburse expenses. That is a hard one to beat, especially when there's nothing in writing. You know, that sort of language just makes excuses for people who are trying to cheat their employees out of their wages. And 3, we have seen whistleblowers or individuals who assisted other individuals who might have limited language abilities and don't understand Iowa law or know how they're supposed to be paid, those people who step forward to assist them to get the wages that they deserve and their families depend on are being discriminated against in the workplace, often terminated or punished for what they're doing, and standing up for bosses against bosses who try to cheat you. It's a difficult thing to do, but when you know that your job's on the line to stand up for your fellow workers, that's a real challenge. And that's why our legislation expands those protections to co-workers who answers the questions or testify on behalf of individuals who are wage theft victims. This legislation is common sense. It's the type of stuff that is being done in every reputable company here in Iowa, and we need to apply it to all Iowa companies so workers who work hard get paid what they're intended and they believe they're intended to receive to take care of their families. It's an Iowa value. Pay a worker what they got coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Doxler. And if you recall, last year's bill passed the Senate. It's still in the identical form of last year. We fully intend to move this out of the Senate. And I want to thank our guests who came today to tell their story. It's very important that we pass this legislation and make it right with our workers. If there are any questions, we will take those at this time. If not, we'll thank you for coming.
To either one of you, what in this bill is not currently in federal law? Because there are federal laws that cover these same types of things, right? So what are you addressing that the federal law is not?
You know, I'm not entirely familiar with all the federal law, but I do know what's being addressed in this bill that's not, is one, currently Iowa workers who might that have a complaint that go to Iowa Workforce Development, the employers that have cheated them with their wages currently are not required to put anything in writing on how they're going to get paid on the terms of employment or what their deductions are. And what this law would do, unless they get caught at not paying, like the one gentleman had done to try to get his wages, he won the case. Iowa law then says, once you cheated somebody, well, you get a bye the first time. And in this legislation, it says everyone, when you get hired, should be told how you're going to get paid, so they know up front, in writing, what those terms of employment are.
So you're going to have to put more enforcement teeth behind this because today's laws aren't being followed. So what do you plan to do to add to that?
And the original bills that we had that came out of this chamber several years back had stronger enforcement. We couldn't get consensus with our colleagues in the other chamber, so we are trying to say, let's take care of this problem on the front side. If we don't get it, if it doesn't help, then I think we're going to have stiffer enforcement. But right now, somebody who goes to court has a difficult time proving that when I got hired, my employer said, Senator Dotzler, you're going to get $10 an hour. And then I get paid $8, it's my word against theirs. So once that employer gets in a situation like that and they can prove that they've been cheated, then the companies then have to do it. Why not do it up front?
Thank you.
I just want to check. The first question was, well, how long did you work at Applebee's?
6 years.
For 6 years. And what were you doing? As a server?
I was a server, yes.
And your coworker, you worked there for 2 years?
3 years total.
3 years total. As a server?
Yes.
Okay. And when did you last work there?
I was finished in October.
Or just this last October?
Yep.
How much
about you?
in tips did you think you would?
I finished in February.